start with what we have, and thank you for all of you for joining. And I know more people will join maybe as we go along the way. We decided to start doing these monthly knowledge meetings to share with all of us small business owners pieces of information that are valuable for our recovery process. So today we are going to put everybody on mute, and if you have any questions, you can use the chat of the Zoom to write it or write it down, and at the end I will open the microphone, and so we can all have a chance to ask. So now we have gone through so many weeks that most of us stay at home, or were able to work partially either from home or from our offices. And now little by little, the officials are opening the city so we can start doing business. So now the question a lot of my clients are asking, we're open for business now, what? What do we do? What are we facing now? And I will be presenting about that. And Priscilla Moreno always will add information at the end about our options for health insurance coverage. Not only if you have lost your job, which a lot of people have been made redundant in the corporations, but also if you have a business and you're looking to decrease or make sure you're paying what is fair for that. So that will go after the presentation. So here we go. So first, we're going to talk about business financial resiliency. So what is that? Like, we all go to the gym and or we try to make our muscles stronger, right? We want to make them last longer, be strong, and that way we build muscle resistance and resiliency and endurance. We can do the same with business financial resiliency. What is that? It's our ability to maintain our spending and our living standards despite an emergency, despite a crisis, despite an economic or in this case has been a medical, social, and epidemic and a global situation. But is our business able to sustain themselves through the crisis and after the crisis? And how do we do that? How do we make our business survive? Also, is the capacity to overcome economic crises, that is not only for the business, but also personally, loss of money, loss of income, reduction of sales, shortage of resources, and turn this season or this pandemic into a learning opportunity that we can adapt and come out in the other side better and with additional progress. We also think, how do we develop the ability to adapt to the situation? Right now, it's all about adaptability. Everybody's talking about pivoting into other aspects. So how do we turn this situation into an opportunity? And financial events that are stressful for us are not only the medical, but like now the COVID-19, but also economic recessions, stock market downturns, weather. We obviously, all of us that were in Houston went through Harvey, any act of terrorism. So anything that affects our company, that it can, or our families, that we cannot continue to produce the level of income that we were producing before. So we're going to start with what is a recession, because people are talking about recessions, the news are talking about recessions, and I want to make sure we understand what a recession is. So countries measure the economic size of the economy based on the GDP, which is the gross domestic product of a business, of the country, which is the summary of all the goods and services that are produced in a nation. So we have, it's normally, we get it by quarter. So when 2 consecutive quarters are negative, so the economy shrunk, it's what is called a recession. For the first quarter of 2020, our economy shrunk by 4.8%. But remember, we did have regulars January's and February's. So it was really March that we had a full month of the pandemic. Now, the second quarter, it will be April, May, and June. So now we are effective June, and we had 2 months that we couldn't really produce at the same level as before. So economists estimate that our economy will shrink by 30%, which is the size of the economy. And why is that important for small businesses? It's because the size of the economy is smaller. And normally what happens is we lose revenues and we lose sales. We cannot continue to function in the same way what we did before. And now the question is, how do we start the recovering process? Well, the first requisite to start this is that obviously in this case, we keep the health situation under control, and we find a solution, not only the vaccine, but we have been little by little evolving into social distancing and masks and gloves and sanitizing. But it's very important that the market develops confidence in that our economy is going to come back stronger, confidence that we can now go back and start our companies selling and services to our clients. So confidence is first the solution or addressing the issues with the public health situation, and second, confidence in our system that will recover and that our companies will continue to sell. So now we're back to the company. So how do we run a business? And we know what we do. We're subject matter experts in what we do. But one of the big situations that I see every day is that business owners run their businesses blindfolded. What do I mean with that? It's like you get in your car, you put your GPS, and then you cover your eyes and you're just driving. When you don't have access to your numbers, when you don't look at the progress of your results, it's like you're driving blindfolded. And I want you to remember this side, because I want you to have the eyes and to see periodically how you are doing, how the freeway is doing, how busy it is. So here we go. So the number one thing that I recommend every company to have, and also you can extrapolate this to homes, is that you need to create a budget and a forecast. And here I know sometimes it sounds overwhelming, but there are very simple ways to start with a budget. And the simplest of the simplest is to take your sticky notes. As you're remembering how much you're spending in different categories, you can create a folder and start putting your sticky notes. Or if you're more sophisticated, there are many applications right now that help you with a budget. And also, but you need to know where you're going. So here in Houston, if you want to go to the Woodlands, you put the destination in the GPS and the GPS helps you. The budget is like a GPS. It takes you to where you need to go, and it shows you along the way when you have, the traffic is slow, if there is a problem, so you can take actions and address that issue. So a basic business budget needs to have revenue, which is the total of the sales, either of a month or quarter or of a total of the year. And you have direct operating expenses, which are the expenses that you need to incur to offer or produce the product and services that you are selling. For example, let's get a cup of coffee, a very basic example. You're selling coffee, and your direct operating expenses will be the coffee beans, the water, the sugar, the spoon to mix it, all the ingredients that you need to have to produce the product or service that you're selling. So when you take your revenue, you subtract your expenses, you find yourself with a gross profit. So if you sell the cup of coffee for $2 and you spend 50 cents in coffee and sugar and milk and water, then you're left with 150. That will be your gross profit. And after that, you have other expenses that you need to incur that are not directly related to the production of the cup of coffee that you're selling. For example, you're going to need to have a place to sell this, for the rent of your store. You're going to need to have somebody who works for you who can sell the coffee. So all of those will be indirect expenses. And if we made $1.50 and then we pay the indirect expenses, let's say another $1, the net income is whatever is left after you have paid all of that. This is the 101 on budget, and you need to do it for your business so you are very aware of where your expenses are, what your level of sales is, and you continue to, you start tracking your expenses and your income of the budget versus the actual every month. A question I get asked all the time is cash flow. And the best analogy, what is cash flow? And for many people not in the financial or business world, this is a little bit of an intangible concept. So I always tell people, imagine the faucet of your sink. So you open the faucet and you have water. If you stop the sink, the water gets there. If you open, the water goes out. If you open the faucet, more water comes in. It's exactly the same situation with money. The cash flow of money is money coming in. In this case, for example, a very simple is the accounts receivable, or what you collect from the people that you are selling your product to. And the money out is water going through the pipe, is the accounts payable. So the money that you use to pay your vendors and your services. And then it's whatever is left. So the level of cash flow that you're keeping after all the ins and all the outs. So companies, businesses should focus on profit and cash. So some people just look at, oh, okay, I'm making 50 cents per cup of coffee, but you need to also look at the cash because you want to make sure that you can satisfy the obligations that you have in the right time. So here's a couple of tips, because right now the market is smaller. You may be concerned with, will the money last? Will I be in a position that I can produce more sales? And will I run out of money? That is the question that we're hearing all the time. How long can I make my cash last? So here, as you can see in this picture, this is a balancing act, and I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Some of them may apply to your business, so you can preserve the cash as much as you can. So number one, get your invoices out as soon as possible. If you don't bill, nobody's going to pay you. So number one, don't sit on invoices for a month. If you sell your service today, try to bill it by the end of the day. And don't wait until Friday, or some companies still are billing once every 2 weeks. Bill it today, because the faster you get your invoice out of the way, the faster your client has the ability to pay. So number two, adjust your prices. So when always watch that the price of your products and services are in line with the competition and are in line with the value added that you're producing. But take a second look at your prices now. Maybe it's time to make a promotion and lower your price a little bit so you can still make money but can sell more units. So sometimes lowering your price a little bit, it's worth it because you produce extra volume that at the end, it produces more profit, right? Maybe the product and service that you're selling right now, it's more valuable than ever because you're selling masks or hand sanitizer. So see if your price is right for the product or the pack that you're selling. If you are selling services like lawyers or consultants, or you're a project manager, or you're doing business cases, see if you can get a retainer for your services. Some people are charging only at the end, and it may be worth it for you to have a retainer right now. So number 4, teach your employees to upsell and cross-sell. So sometimes you start with just the smaller product. So maybe following the example, maybe of the coffee, maybe you go and sell a cup of coffee. But next time you can sell the cup of coffee, and ice cream of the cup of coffee, and a sandwich. The same with services. Maybe you start with a basic service. Some restaurants are delivering food. And this last week, I went to a restaurant close to where I live, and they were selling not only the takeout food, but also they were selling baskets of vegetables ready to go. And I thought it was a phenomenal idea. I got the lunch, and I got also a basket of vegetables. So see if you start with the basic and you are able to produce additional revenue with additional products. Inventory costs money. That's number 5. And the inventory, I have had the opportunity to see companies that have thousands and millions of dollars sitting in inventory of products that will be sold 6 months from now. So request an inventory report. If you don't have it, start working on one. Make sure that you have enough inventory to produce your commodity, but not so much that you have for a year and you have the money sitting there. So be careful when you purchase inventory. Make sure it's the right size that you need for the right time. Obviously, control your expenses, right? That's kind of the obvious. So go back to the company and personal expenses and see if you need all those subscriptions that you signed like 2 years ago, and make sure that you still need them. Make sure that I see all the time people that sign for subscription or services, and they are not using 25% of those. So check either your internet, your telephone, your applications. Make sure that whatever you have, you're using it to the max. Go back to the services. Sometimes you sign out 2 years ago and they have evolved and produced, and I see repetitive services you're paying double. So check that. You may be able to save some money. In the accounts receivable part, see that you have the right credit limits. See if you can do some items that are not going out, if you can do a clearance or a promotion, so they go out and then you get some extra income. Sometimes people don't want to accept credit cards because they say they have to pay the 3% fee. Well, but you have to measure. Many people will pay you faster if you accept the credit card, and it may be worth it to pay the service fee. If you are still waiting for the checks to come to the mail, I ask you to please consider electronic payments. I know Chase, for example, accepts Zelle, and people go in the computer, and 2 minutes later or 30 seconds later, you have the money in your bank and it's available for you and liquid, right, to be used immediately. In some cases, you could shift your receivables to a financing company. This is not good for everyone, but for some businesses, it's an option. As I said before, get some money at front. So if you're going to do repair, a construction and renovation, charge something at front so you at least cover your materials. Check the credit worthiness of your clients, because you want to work and make sure you get paid. And don't let unpaid invoices run too far and too wild. You need to catch people at earlier. So if your payment terms in 15 days and already is 15 days plus 1 week plus 2 weeks plus 3 weeks, and you haven't seen any payment, take ownership of this, take control, stop billing more. You need to get the house in order and the money coming your way. So KPIs it's an acronym that means key performance indicators. And like when you're driving and you look at your car, you can see how well your car is consuming gas and like that. And I found this graph of these friendly faces. I thought it was really cute with the red and not only the colors, but also the expression. You need to make sure how well your business is being run based on certain KPIs. And every business has different ones, but at least if out of this presentation, you come up with 2 KPIs that are standard along the way. Number one is the gross profit margin. So we're going to stop here for a second. I'm going to show you this very basic P&L. So the way it goes is you have the revenue first, as we say, the cup of coffee. Then we have the cost of goods sold, the price that you pay for the water, the sugar, the milk, and the gross profit. So if you sell 100 and you paid 60, you're left with 40. If you take those 40 and you divide it by 100, that means that your business is generating 40% gross profit margin. And why is this important? Because if in 2019 your gross profit margin was 40%, I expect, if nothing has changed, that in 2020 your gross profit margin is the same. But if you suddenly start seeing that now it's not 40, it's 30, it's 20, it's 10, it's 5, there is something that has changed in your business that you need to stop and analyze. And this is how these KPIs help you realizing that you have a problem and stop and look for the problem and solve the problem right now instead of waiting 13 months. When you're preparing income taxes for next year, you realize that now, last year I was making 40, now I'm making 20. What happened? And now you just lost the benefit of a year that you could have corrected the issue, that now that you're looking at it, it's so obvious what was happening, right? So that's number one. And the second KPI that I want you to learn today is a net profit margin. So what is that? So remember, here we're at 40, but then we have to pay for rent and personnel and insurance and office supplies and all of those other expenses. So let's say those are $30. So we had 40, we spent 30, now we're left with $10. So I take those $10 and I divide that into the 100 of revenue and I get a 10%. That means that for every $100 that I sell, I am left with $10. Therefore, your net profit margin is 10. This is just a sample. It varies among industries, companies, and there is not right or wrong, because people ask me all the time, what is the right net profit margins? It depends on your industry, it depends on your product, but what is important for you, regardless of the industry or product that you have, is that if this year the profit is 5%, and last year the net profit was 20%, something has changed in your business, and we need to look inside the business to see where is the problem. Either it's in revenue, it can be processes, it can be costing. So that's where the art of finance comes into place, to find the root cause of the issue and solve it. So I want to leave you with 10, and I'm looking at the watch to make sure we're good. It's 11:30, so we're good with the time. I want to leave you with 10 ideas or tips that can help you in your business. So write this down. If one or two apply to your particular case, I will be happy. And we can talk later if you have questions about those. So how do you recession-proof your business? Number one, let's talk about money. If there's one thing you come out of this is with the idea that this is not going to resolve it by itself as a miracle. We need to sit down and talk about money. Even if we don't like to talk about money, we have to talk about money. Talking about money is good. Talking about with your team is good. They are there because they are subject matter experts, and people can have different ideas, and we value and welcome those ideas of how to solve the problems. The important thing is to keep the fitness health of your company. So discuss and analyze your numbers, your results on a monthly basis. Put it in the calendar right now, one day at one time, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. for the rest of the year, once a month. And then once you have the financial statements, and even if you have nothing to talk about, use that time to review the results of the prior month. If you're very uncomfortable with finance, I always tell people when I'm sick, I go to the doctor. I am not a doctor. They studied 20 years to be a doctor. And if I have a question about medicine, yeah, I Google the basics, but I go and check with the subject matter experts, so because they have a holistic view of not just the disease or the symptom, but the whole effect in the body. It's the same with finance. So it's okay for you to study a little bit, increase your knowledge of finance. I encourage people to study and check. But if it gets to a point that you are overwhelmed and you freeze and you don't do anything, please hire a professional expert. That's what we're here for. That's what we have studied. That's what we have 30 years of experience. We're here to support you to make sure your business continues to be healthy and last for many, many, many more years to come, right? Tip number 2, protect your cash flow. We all have heard cash is king. In times of crisis, I remember when it was Harvey and we could all have all the money in the banks, but we couldn't go to the ATMs because we couldn't have electricity to pull money out of the ATM. So cash is king. We needed the cash to buy gasoline and to buy food. Cash is king for your business. We have had this COVID-19 right now. In a year, we will have another thing, and in 2 years, we'll have something else. I'm not wishing this, but we always go in cycles, right? So please, please, please have an emergency fund for you and your family, and have adequate levels of working capital for your business. And here I want to make a parenthesis, because most of us, or some of us, had applied for the disaster emergency loan with the SBA and with the PPP, the payroll protection plan with your local bank. And right now I have a lot of companies having an influx of money that is has specific instructions on how to be used and the purpose of that money. So you need to have the right approach to this money and use the money in such a way that make your business last and make your business right and make your business continue. The purpose of the loans is that we keep our employees employed, that we keep producing and delivering the service in the industry, in the economy, and that we all survive. So do not use the money for anything personal. Use the money for your business. Use it right. And if you are overwhelmed between how to use the money, what loans to pay and what not to pay, and give us a call. That's what we're here for. We can help you, giving you a clear pathway of how to apply those and have a healthy business. Tip number 3, please, please, please understand and analyze your financial statements. I know this is something that we're not born with. You never hear a child talking about financial statements. It's something that is learned, but like many things in life, we have to learn it. We're not born knowing how to ride a bike or drive a car. There are many things, or speaking a second language. So we learn it through life. And this is one of the elements of being a business owner, that it's your responsibility to learn at least the very basic. And potentially in the future, we will do another seminar about those, because those are a big topic. But Watch your bottom line. If you have a bookkeeper, ask your bookkeeper for the results. If you don't have a bookkeeper and you don't know who to call me. I connect you. We offer that service. But you need to look at the numbers every month. I tell my clients that the P&L is like when you go to the doctor and the very first thing the doctor said, go and get some blood work. And then the next week you get these 3 pages of a lot of things, and you look at those, and most of the people can read 2, 3, elements. But looking at all of them combined is an art, because you can say, hey, I look good, and the doctor looks at it and it's like, no, these and these and these are risky. So it's the same with the financial statements. Limit your unbudgeted expenses. Don't spend any money in things that are luxury or are, you would like to have for your business right now. And understand the relationship between billing and collection. Not because you perform the job today, it means that you're going to get paid today. Not because you bill today, it means that you're going to get the money today. So you perform the job today, you build tonight, hopefully, because you were at Soledad seminar and she told you to bill as soon as possible. And then your payment terms, let's say, are 1 week or 2 weeks, you will get paid there. So the work that you did at the beginning of the month, you get paid at the end of the month. You need to understand this correlation of time. And understand the frequency of income, right? For example, if you sell insurance and they renew every year, that's where you get the income. There are things that are sold once a year, once a month, so understand the frequency of the income that your business give you. Number 4, debt. If you have high levels of debt, your company in low revenue, you are not producing, your business is vulnerable during a recession. So what I recommend people to do now is make sure get a piece of paper and a pen and write down everything that you owe. Write the interest rates that you owe, organize them, and make a payment. Have it in front of you and be very clear of what you owe and when you have to pay. Develop multiple revenue streams. So make sure that all your products and services are profitable. So let's take back the example of the cup of coffee. And let's say you have a coffee shop and you sell coffee and tea. When you look at the financial statements, they're telling you that you're making 30%. Wonderful. Just an example. That's not a true number. But then when I go deeper and I say, you know what we're going to do? I want to get the profitability of the coffee only, and I want to get the profitability of the tea only separate, like they will be separate businesses. And then when we do that, we realize that the coffee is bringing 50% profit, but the tea is bringing 5% profit. And it's the mix of the two that is giving you that average profit. So I recommend that you analyze each line of your business in a separate to see if everybody is around the average or somebody is pulling you down and pulling you up, and you need to look at that separate or deeper to see if there's any way that you can increase that profit. You may be able to offer extra value to that, or maybe you just need to retire that service or product because it's no longer a good mix with your products. We talked earlier about your budget and your forecast. So this is not something that you do once in your lifetime and then you put it in a drawer and you forget. So once you do your budget, every month you take a look, and let's say something happened, you suddenly are selling a product and it's selling really well, and your forecast for sale for next month is much higher than you expected it. So please update your budget. I see now, let's say now that most of the business are opening, maybe you thought, okay, May was really low, but June is going to be better. And what happens is suddenly in June, it's phenomenal, right? People start calling you back as now finally we're able to to see you and buy your product. So you need to make sure you update, because July is going to be good, and make sure you get a full year realistic view. We talked earlier about the inventory management. Please ask in your company if you have inventory. I want you to see an inventory report today. So to see how much money you have in the raw material and how long will it last, and if you have enough to produce the products and services that hopefully you can sell soon. Check your marketing budget. Okay, marketing is sexy and it's pretty, and you can put a lot of money there. Make sure every time you make an investment in marketing, I want to hear what is the estimated return on the investment of that money. So if you tell me for every X amount of dollars I put into this campaign, brochures, website, rebranding, whatever you do, then that's not the end. I not only want to hear how much you're investing, I want to hear how much you're going to get out of that, or you expect to get out of that. And of course, check your prices, make sure they are current, make sure they are good. Update your packages. Maybe right now some clients have to make smaller units so you can sell more. Make sure you are selling what the market is asking. And I wanted to end this saying that, like Albert Einstein said, in the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity. So it has been a testing time for all of us, but there are millions of opportunities waiting, because the market is there, because there are needs from the people. So keep your eyes open, your energy up, talk to your clients, call them all the time, ask in the market, because we are gonna get out of this much better than before, but we need to keep the eyes on the opportunities. And I wanted to finish saying, okay, out of this, hopefully, I want you to write 3 things that you think can be useful for your particular business. Write it down and think about this. After that, I will be sending you the presentation. And what can you do today to make your business healthier, financially healthier, and preserve that profit and productivity? Also want to take the opportunity to let you know that STC Consulting is a business and financial management consulting firm that is here to help you improve the profit and productivity of businesses. And we offer 2 solutions for corporations, CFO on demand and financial speaking engagements. And for business owners and startups, we offer financial management services, business consulting, financial modeling, financial training, and bookkeeping services. Financial management is what you heard today. All the work that we do with budgets, with financial statements, with analysis, with the strategy. And for today's participants, we're offering a 30-minute complimentary consultation. So if you have any questions, you can give me a call at 832-998-2136. Thank you for listening. And now with that, I'm going to pass the microphone, I guess, to Priscilla Moreno. Priscilla, thank you for joining us. And we value your knowledge and expertise, and all of us can benefit from that. So the floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being a part of this call and talking to entrepreneurs and small businesses or people that potentially got laid off. I've been getting a lot of those calls lately. So I just wanted to talk about me and my background and, what resources I can offer to a lot of those people. So the silver lining to a lot of people getting laid off is they started their businesses. That's been really good because they probably wouldn't have started so soon if they hadn't gone laid off. So sometimes it opens up another door. So I can talk to a lot of people once you're starting to open up your business and opening up that door. There's a lot of questions that go into that. Do I provide benefits for my employees? How do I provide benefits for myself? What's the next step there? Once you've talked to Soledad and figured out your business structure, the next step is, maybe looking at your health insurance benefits. So if you've just lost your job, you do have a COBRA option a lot of the time. It's a 60-day window. I can always look at that, or an agent that doesn't specialize in one product, that's completely independent, can also look at that too. That's always something to look at. But anyway, so I'm independent, I can look at that, and then I can look at maybe other options that are available. And then if you're going into business, there's 3 main ways of getting insurance. You can get a traditional group plan if you have a 1099 person or a W-2 employee. You can get a traditional group plan. I know Jorge offers some of those services with traditional group insurance benefits and HR benefits. So he's also a really good resource for that. Or you can do customizable individual plans. Sometimes that makes more sense. It really just depends on the structure of your business, but we can always look at that. Jorge and I both have a lot of experience when it comes to that. And then there's marketplace. So sometimes I've had business owners that will do a traditional marketplace plan. The marketplace plan, it used to serve as part of a mandate where you didn't owe, you were insured, so you didn't owe anything to the government. That mandate no longer exists. So you can potentially go without insurance. It's obviously not something we ever recommend, because if something happens, medical debt is the largest reason for bankruptcy. So we can look at that. Sometimes marketplace makes more sense. Sometimes a traditional group plan makes more sense. And sometimes the private options make more sense. So it really just depends on the situation, the structure of your business, what potentially the client or business owner qualifies for. But I can look into that. I do work with small business owners. Jorge does a lot of larger businesses, or small also. And I do families and individuals as well. So we can always evaluate it. We love to help and make sure that you're going in the right direction. It's been bittersweet, because I've had a lot of people that have called, either reevaluating plans or, getting laid off. But I'm glad that I was able to be a resource and help alleviate some stress during these crazy, difficult times. So I can always look at that. My number is 210-705-3578. But we are going to include all of our information. And if anyone ever has any questions or just needs some stress relief, or even if you're part of a big company and you need me to look at a family, sometimes it makes more sense to divide families in a good way to help with the family's budget. So I can look at that too. But yeah, I'm Priscilla. I'm an independent health insurance agent. So thank you, Soledad.
Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you for that valuable information. I know that all of us, if we can decrease the level of stress and we can keep our families covered and the health covered, then we take care of the rest. So I do appreciate Priscilla and all her knowledge. And we have some questions. It's 11:47, so we have a couple of questions. First one, what software platforms do you recommend, QuickBooks, etc., that can provide automatic notices to drastic changes in profits, revenue, etc.? So yes, thank you for the question. A lot of businesses use QuickBooks. QuickBooks has different levels of services. So if you are just a small business starting, one person starting your business, you can get a smaller subscription, all the way to a big company. All these platforms, the software is kind of the skeleton, right? All these platforms offer a reporting model, and the reporting model, you can have the basics. So when you go there, you have P&L, balance sheets, etc. 100 reports. The important part is that you can customize it to fit your needs. So let's say that a particular company, you can predetermine reports that can be run every month on the 30th of every month, where you compare, for example, month over month, or year over year, or quarter over quarter. So you can very easily detect the changes up and down on the profit. That's important. The basic report is not going to give you that. It's going to be a flat it's like, give me May results. Okay, so you see May and then you see, okay, in May the profit was 10%. But that gives you a piece of information only with one view. But it doesn't, 10% can be phenomenal if before you were doing 5%. But it's terrible if last month you were doing 20%, right? So you always need to have the comparison. So I recommend that in any software, that anywhere from SAP to QuickBooks and anything in between, the reporting model is something that management needs to sit down and ask themselves, what do I want to see? Once we answer that question, what do we want to see? Then the experts can set it up in such a way that what you get is what you need to handle your business. And finally, don't drive the car blindfolded because you are looking at it right now. So thank you. Also, we have a question for Priscilla. Priscilla, people want to know what is the difference between LLC, S Corps, and if it's the same over DBA. Let me see if I can get you on mute. Let me see. Ask to unmute.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, perfect.
So that was my question for you. If you're going into business for yourself, because you and I have had this conversation about my business, is it smarter to be a DBA or to be LLC, or what's the difference between having an S corp or not?
Okay, now I'm unmuted too. So perfect. See, okay, so the subject matter experts on company formations are the lawyers and the CPAs. But based on the experience, so I always ask people, please consult with your lawyer. And if you don't have a lawyer, come here. I have a huge group of people that can help you in English or in Spanish, are also with CPAs because they're up to date in the rules. But in general, a DBA is a person doing business as a company. So let's say, following the topic of the coffee shop, right? So let's say Priscilla starts a business of a coffee shop and it's called Italian coffee, but you use a DBA. That means that you, Priscilla, the person, is doing business, and you are the entity. So it's a civil entity, right? So you're doing it under your social security number. But if you do it under an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, a couple of things that you have to ask here. So how are you going to be taxed? Important. And what kind of protection and obligations you have. So I'm going to talk about the LLC, for example. In the LLC, you will be required to have an employee identification number, which will be, so a person have the social security and the company will have a company number. So you're acting under the company, and the results of the company will be a pass-through to your personal results, and you will be taxed at your personal tax rate instead of being taxed at a corporate rate. The other thing I tell people is, let's talk about protection. So if for any reason the LLC is, you go into a lawsuit and you lose, so the assets of the companies are the one that will be taken away, after a whole process, if found guilty, and et cetera, instead of your personal assets. So it's important to protect your personal assets, and I recommend that people start with a formation, but obviously it all depends on what other circumstances you have. And we can talk more in detail about that later, because there are many different types of companies and the different things to consider to make the decision. We have another question. What is your opinion on financing services for accounts receivable? Services that change They charge 2 to 4% of accounts receivable, and for that fee, they pay you immediately, therefore improving your collections rate and your cash flow. Yes, I have clients in the transportation industry that factor their invoices so they can get the money immediately. That's one way of doing it. So they want to stay focused on their business and get the cash flow immediately. It's useful when you have limited working capital and you're starting your business. It's useful if you don't want to, it's a hard industry and you don't want to just spend time on that. Some other clients, so it's good, but it's not good for all. If you have enough working capital in the industry, if your payment terms are, open receipt or a short, so it depends. We need to analyze the weight of the financial cost versus the rest of the profit, right? And your ability to move. So it's an option, and but in order to, it's not perfect for everyone, but some businesses take advantage of that and it's really good. I see a note here. Give me just a minute in the chat. Perfect. Yes, no, just saying thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tara, Priscilla, Danelia, Mary, Jorge, and all of you for coming here. It is, let me see if I have one more. I think at this point, we're gonna open the microphones for everyone. If you could please, hold on. We're gonna unmute everyone. So as we're waiting for the co-host to unmute everyone, I'm curious, Priscilla, you mentioned in your chat that sometimes it's worth it to split families, only for insurance purposes, right? Just to clarify, take it out of concept. Why would that be the case? That's interesting to know. Is it what are the benefits of why, in your experience, that's an option, a good option?
Yeah, so sometimes the employee, if they work for a larger company, the company will participate in paying some of the employees' benefits, but they're not required to participate in paying the rest of the family. So the spouse and kids are not required to pay those benefits. So sometimes it makes sense for the employee to elect into the company plan, and then for the rest of the family to look into other options. So to either look at like private options or something else to evaluate. So sometimes that can save the client quite a bit of money. It really depends on the situation, but a lot of the time it works better for the family that way.
I find that really interesting because I will have not thought to play with different scenarios to try to get good service to all, still have a good level coverage level, but splitting the family. So that's a wonderful. And I'm sure that it depends of the health of the family and things like that, but it's great. So I just saw another note here. Tara, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. I just read your note. So everyone, we have in the call Tara Mason. She's a business law attorney and my friend too. And if you want to make a statement about the LLC and the DBAs, thank you for joining. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to add for you did an excellent job, Soledad, with answering her question about the differences between the LLC and the DBA. I was only going to add, Priscilla, that an additional benefit of having an S election on your LLC is that you can have a salary designation for your company. And for that salary, you are only taxed on that salary amount for self-employment taxes. The balance of any profit would be considered a distribution of the company, and then that would be taxed at a different rate for that amount. So there are tax implications for the S election. It's often called an S corp. There's tax benefits to that. And you would have to talk further with a CPA or a tax specialist to find out which would benefit you the most and would save you the most money to choose just a straight LLC versus an LLC with an S election. Also, an LLC by itself without the S election is often done with single member owners where you don't have a partnership. The LLC that has the S election normally does have partnerships arrangements involved with it, which is why you would want to have designated salaries for the different partners. You would want to have clear terms for the distributions of the company or any type of profits, when they are made and how they are valued. So the S election allows the business to be structured more formally. And when you have a partnership, you do want to do those things in advance up front, because if there is a dispute about the operation of the business, you have clear contractual terms about how the business will run, what the rights and obligations are of each partner. So that's kind of in a little quick nutshell for you what the benefits are of doing the LLC just by itself versus having an LLC with an S election.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Tara, for clarifying that. And many times people ask me, how can we support each other? Exactly what we're doing right now. We each one of us are a subject matter expert, and we need all of us to improve. So let's share our information. Let's like our social media. Let's recommend each other. Let's get all together and just talk about, when you hear one of your clients saying, I need these, keep us, all of us in mind to continue to grow. We're getting to the hour. I appreciate each one of you for giving us the time. We will send this presentation back to you. It has been an honor to have you, and thank you for your time. Any questions? We will be here after, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.